Hello everyone and welcome to the 56th Stately Office Hours. Yeah, I'm going to count the number every time, even if it's not a notable number. This is where us, the team at Stately, give you updates on what we've been working on with the Stately Studio and on XState. All some exciting things with XState this week. And we've got so much to share with you. If you have any questions that you want to ask us, you can always ask us in the comments live on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on Twitch, and you can drop us a message always in our Discord. We have a dedicated office channel, and our Discord is at discord.gg/xstate. And let's start how we do every week with introducing the team. I'll start off with myself. I'm Laura, and I do advocacy for Stately. Next up, David.
Hey, I'm David, the founder of Stately, creator of XState, and I'm working from Miami today.
It's very exciting. Is it warm there? I hear Miami is very warm.
Probably a lot warmer than where the rest of the team is, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely freezing in Ireland. That's why I'm wearing a hat. And Fazad.
Hey. Farzad here from the engineering team, and I live in Finland, which is -10 right now, Celsius degrees.
Oh, okay, that's colder than here. And Kevin, is it warm where you are?
No, it's not. It's pretty cold. It's maybe 2 degrees Celsius. I'm here in Philadelphia, and I'm Kevin, working on the engineering team as well.
And Anders, we already discussed the temperature because that's what Europeans do before the stream started. But why don't you tell everyone who you are and where you are, how cold it is there?
I'm Anders. I'm also part of our great engineering team here at Stately, and I live in Denmark, and I'm in perfect sync with Laura. I'm at -4 Celsius today, and it's been snowing. It's been so beautiful, but a bit cold.
We haven't got the snow yet. It's a shame, but hopefully soon have something to make the cold worthwhile here. So we have so much to share with you this week. We wanted to start off with the really, really big thing that Mateusz has been working on really hard for a very long time, but isn't here to show off about. So we're going to get him to talk about it a little more depth in the future. But right now, team, what has Mateusz been doing with the XState VS Code extension?
Well, first off, he's been just chipping away at it for like a very long time, and he's so good. I mean, it's impressive what he's done. So, I mean, some of the highlights in the new extension release is that it's much faster than the old version. You could even say that it's blazingly fast. And another thing is that we show potential errors now in the visual editor. So if you make a mistake in your code, you'll know why the visual editor isn't updating, because we'll have like a nice banner highlighting the potential error. And it's as if that was not enough. Now the visual editor actually works offline inside VS Code.
Oh, that's great. A lot of people have been requesting that as well. It's really helpful, particularly for teams where they have to restrict their internet because of security, to be able to run things offline.
And I mean, just to talk to his dedication, even though he couldn't be at office hours, I can see I get notifications from him adding new stuff to the extension as we speak.
It's always working, no matter where from. We often get pictures of him working from his car. That is how dedicated he is.
The office, as he calls it, yeah.
Yeah. Another cool feature that we've released this week, and you might have already seen, is one that I can show you right now, even though I am not responsible for this feature. Fazal, I think you're responsible for this. And that is these cool little banners that you get. So now when you are on a machine, when you're visiting a machine that is not your machine, it will tell you this machine is view only and changes will not be saved. It means you can play with the machine all you like in the editor, but all of the changes you make won't be saved. So you're probably better off forking that machine if you can. Is there anything else that anyone wants to add about this? I know that you'll probably also see this banner if you are a viewer on a team project. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's right. Because you can't actually edit it, but you can view it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As Eric says, this is not your machine. Yeah, It's important to know because you don't want to keep editing things when you're not going to be able to save those changes. And there was another element that I wanted to share with you all, and that is that in the tutorials, which we are continuously updating, we now have new tutorials in the studio for import from code and for export from code or export as code. So if you want to know how to import and export, that is where you go to find it all out. And to get to those tutorials, you need to go to the help button, the little blue question mark button at the bottom right of the studio. You see how much the team is working, that there's a new version available just while I'm giving this demo. There's so much going on over here. And next up, David, do you want to tell us about the expandable left drawer that we've got? Now, this is something that you and Farzad actually modeled in a live stream a few weeks ago, maybe even a couple of months ago now.
Yeah, that's correct. So I think it was a couple of months ago where Farzad and I got on the stream, and we actually did a couple of episodes where we were modeling this resized panel using state machines. And so I'm going to go a little bit meta over here. I'm going to add a new machine, and let's zoom in so you could see that. And I'm going to click import from code. So resize machine, and I'm actually going to paste pretty much the same code that we have in the code base, which the extension was really helpful for, where we dogfood all of our stuff. So this is pretty much the same machine as we did in the stream, with the exception that we got rid of the collapsing just because we don't need that feature yet. And so thankfully we just delete that state, and there we go. So let's see if this works. If I create this machine, oh, works perfectly. Okay, just need to move some things around, but we have this resized machine. And so you'll notice here, like if I just go into these states, sometimes you'll see, for example, over here, we have an assign action. And of course, if you hover, you could see the full name, but it might be a bit nicer if we could just stretch this out a little bit so that we could see the full name, just like that. And you see it could go all the way to 75%, which is pretty useful when you want to just, take a look over here. We might have more things in the future over here, or, just shrink it down to, I think it's 20 rems or something like that. And also, this was really fun to create because if you press escape, then it goes back to the normal position. Or if you double click, it will also go back to the normal position. So that's your new resize panel that is using pretty much the machine that you see right here. So this is very, very meta.
It's really cool. It's such a useful feature. I only found out about it earlier today when I was actually using the editor, and I was like, I want a bit more space to play with the canvas, because I was trying to build quite a big, complicated machine, and I was like, I can just move this out of the way. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you modeled that, you did a live stream that folks can watch the video on YouTube still. And so you can go back and find that. I will put the link to it in the description of this video. And that was something that you and Farzad did a couple of months ago. So you get to learn some modeling tips as well from watching that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the more advanced components we make, we'll be sure to create more streams for those too, and then show them off in the editor.
As Martin says, it's nice to see it now in the editor.
There's a bit of Martin there because he helped us model something in the stream.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool. And Cedric said it will be so good to do that with the Viz2 on the right panel. Yeah, it would be interesting to see how we would work with the right panel, because they're kind of more, rather than a draw, they're more a pop over, aren't they? Or I suppose the tutorials panel, that could also be expandable maybe in the future.
I think in the Viz we have a resizable panel already.
Yeah, we do. And it actually does use a similar state machine for that. But the great thing about this is this was actually really straightforward to add onto the code base, because I just copied over the machine, added the components, and I was done. So
that was really useful. Import from code, such a cool feature. It's coming in so useful for so many of us at the moment. We've been using it to move machines around before the moving machines feature came about. And that's something that we should talk about, that moving machines is now available to everyone.
Yeah. So, last week I did a demo, and now we've actually released this to production. So you can now move machines from project to project. That's in your My Projects. If you're also a member of a team, you can move machines to those teams or even between teams in some cases. So enjoy.
Yeah, and I will make sure that I link back to the full demo that Kevin did last week, because it was very thorough and very detailed, and it shows you exactly how to move your machines around, which, I mean, to be honest, to some degree, you don't need a demo because it's really clear in the user interface. So hopefully you should just have a lot of fun moving your machines around. Now, I quite like having a machine in a draft project when I'm starting out modeling it, and when I'm feeling shy and I don't necessarily want to share it with the rest of the team, and then I will move it into a team project when I'm ready to share it. So it's a really good way of modeling things.
I do that too.
It's a great way of working. We've also got a lot. I mean, we've been releasing lots of like little small things through the week as well, little quality of life improvements and things like that. There are also some quite exciting things that we're working on coming soon. Anders, do you want to tell us a little bit about the GitHub integration? Because I think folks have been asking for this a lot.
Yeah, so we've started to dig in on what a stately GitHub integration feature would look like. And what we're working on initially is the possibility for you to create a stately studio project based on a GitHub repo. So basically point to a repo and you get a studio project from that. And we're also working on some sort of visual representation of state machines while you have your pull requests going. But I mean, the project is early, so we haven't locked down all the features. So if you have any great wishes or ideas for a stately GitHub integration, just let us know and maybe we can squeeze those in there.
And some eagle-eyed folks might have noticed a share image URL option appearing in your machine options, which is kind of working towards that feature, isn't it?
It is. We've done a silent release of the possibility to, from the context menu in a machine, you can copy an image URL, a feature that we already had in the visualizer. So we've added that to the studio. And what it does is it gives you a URL you can post in your chat program with your colleagues or on Twitter or something. And we will try to create an image representation of your machine as best as possible. And it's true, it's going to be one of the building blocks of the GitHub story.
And it's also going to really help me out with the documentation, because I love taking screenshots of machines, and this is going to save me so much time, especially with live updates as well, for the changes to the machine. That will save a huge amount of time for documentation. And I'm sure that will be the case for a lot of people in their code bases as well.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be helpful for a lot.
Yeah, I always love that in the Viz. It's such a great feature. And also, we have been working pretty hard on revisions, haven't we, Kevin?
That's right, Laura. So just to give some background, today when we're working on a machine, when I work on a machine, I'm often, putting it together, and then I look at it and it's nice, but then I'm always iterating on it. But sometimes I wish I could, kind of go back and, capture some of those older versions. And right now, the way that you can do that, of course, is you could fork the machine and rename it with, V1 and V2 and things like that. But what we're going to be working on right now, or we're working currently on, is machine versioning. This is something that Gavin and Anders and I have been, working on. And that's going to basically allow you to build on top of the auto-save snapshots that we already do currently with the machines. But we'll be able to actually save explicit versions whenever you want to. And you'll be able to give them names, and you'll be able to browse the history of those versions. And you'll even be able to restore previous versions or fork from them, so you can really spawn up other projects and things like that. This is a pro feature that we're going to be releasing. And it's very exciting because I think it's going to improve the workflow with machines. It's going to allow you to be more creative with your approach to modeling, because there are often many ways to do, to model the same types of systems. and also to experiment with different layouts and to really be able to track the evolution of your work over time.
That's great. So when I come in and break one of your machines, you'll be able to go back to a previous version that wasn't broken as well.
And that too, sure.
Yeah, I think that's going to be so valuable and a really powerful tool for collaboration for sure. And one of the things, we haven't got Nick here today, but one of the really exciting things that Nick's been working on is colors, and in many different ways. He's not only been working on improving how we use color in the studio already, but David, we've also got some ideas about how people might want to start using color inside of their machines too.
Yeah, so especially when it comes to generating image previews of machines, having just a single, like a monochromatic machine might not be too helpful, especially when you want to describe certain parts of your machine or distinguish states from other states or events from other events. And so that's where color comes in really, really handy. So this is something that we're currently working on, and we just have to make it accessible, look good in both light mode and dark mode, but we want to give users the ability to have custom colors for their state machines. So.
Yeah, it's a bigger job than it sounds like, really, when you talk about adding color, because you do have so much to think about in terms of making it work within the existing UI, and being able to make it accessible is really important. We want to encourage people to do things in an accessible way. You've got to bear in mind that not everyone perceives color in exactly the same way, and a useful colored state for you might not be so useful for your teammate if they can't see it. And so we're going to work on ways to enable you to do best practices. You can use color how you want, really, but we're just trying to encourage you to do it in a good way. Now, alongside everything that everyone's been working on, we're also just trying to improve how we work on things ourselves stately, and how we work with what we're building. And Anders, you've been working on some very important things in terms of disaster recovery situations, haven't you?
Yeah, so I'm working on a few things in that area. So one thing is we had an error happen in our database the other day, and we had to roll back, so we lost a couple of hours of data. So one thing is we're upgrading our backend to a point-in-time recovery, so the gap where we could lose data is going to be very minimal. But one other thing, much more exciting, is a sort of, I need to find a better name, but like a disaster recovery mode inside the editor. And it's hopefully going to be a mode no one actually sees. But right now, you could kind of make changes in the editor, and our backend could drop out, so you couldn't reach the backend, or you could go offline because maybe you lost internet connectivity. And we are adding a mode where if any of those happen, we'll try our best to save all your work locally. So the next time you go online, we'll kind of match up what you have locally against what we have, and give you the option to restore your local work if that isn't matching up to what we see on our database. And this is something we're going to release next week, hopefully. So fingers crossed.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's even sooner than I thought as well. That's so useful. I think everyone who are working on trains around this part of the world in particular will really thank you for that when they're going in and out of tunnels and in and out of remote connections and losing their connectivity. That's going to be a really useful feature.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, another shout out to Martin from the chat there for helping out on inspiration for this issue. He had a data loss the other day, and I'm really sorry for that inconvenience, but we had a chat about it, and he kind of inspired us to build this new feature. So, and I'll get back to you, Martin, once it's ready to test. So
that's great. It's great to turn difficult situations into ways to improve the studio for everyone. I think that's making lemonade for sure.
Yeah, and in general, this is a good catalyst for two main things. Number one is basically having our tools be offline first, where the only online features are like features where you have to reach out to a server. But in terms of like just creating and working on your machines, it should be able to, be possible to work on those offline. And also collaborative mode, where when we work with things like multiplayer mode, then it is sort of offline by default, and you have to do sort of that resolution that says, here's this version on someone else's machine, here's my version, which one is the right version? And so instead of overwriting, we could do that in a much smarter way in the future.
Yeah, it's a hard problem to solve, that one as well. It's good to get handling it as quickly as we possibly can, for sure. And Farzad, there was another little bug that got fixed this week in terms of assignment actions.
Yeah, so when we initially released the feature for importing from code, we kind of missed the fact that you can't really import context, not context, but like assignment action creators in your code properly into the editor. So if you had to, import a machine that has some sort of assign actions in it, then you would run into a runtime problem. Then we released a fix to avoid the runtime exception that you were getting, to work around it. And today we released another fix to completely parse the assignments as expressions. So we show you the different variations of assignments that you might have based on the XState API in your code, as like the full expression of the action that you can see. If we go back to the machine that David was showing off in the beginning of this stream, you could see that there were different assignment actions expressions parsed there. So you could see like the entire JavaScript expression for it.
Great. Oh, that's really good. If anyone does find any bugs or any errors, please let us know, because the team is really vigilant about these and fixing things as quickly as possible. So all you have to do is just let us know if you find something that is working in an unexpected way. And of course, if you have any features that you would like to request, it can't go for a whole live stream without me telling you about our Canny roadmap board. That's at statelyai.canny.io. And there you'll be able to post feature requests and also upvote other people's feature requests. We've got a whole load on there, including examples that you might want us to document, including features that you might want for the dev tools and the studio itself. There's a whole wide-ranging amount, and we consider all of the features, and we use your votes to help us decide what to prioritize. So we really appreciate all of your feedback on there. Now, is there anything else that the team wanted to mention this week? Aside from Cedric saying, Farzad, I think the children want to come to say hi.
Yeah, my 2-year-old son is on fire today. Sorry about that.
That is what 2-year-olds do. It is absolutely their prerogative. Well, I think that's a wrap for this week. We've had a huge amount to work on, and that's why we'll have even more to share with you next week. We will be back next week with more. I think next week will probably be our last live stream before the holidays, and we'll have a bit of a break, and we will come back to you with a lot more exciting things in 2023. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for folks in the comments. We always appreciate you coming here and asking questions and just giving us feedback. You really do make these streams what they are. Team, anything before you want to say before we say our final goodbyes?
Nothing for me.
I think everyone's just ready for the weekend, aren't they? Well, everyone have a great weekend, and we will catch you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.